Hello everyone, thanks for joining me at the Solo Gamers Club. My name is Keith, and tonight we're going to be playing Dawn of the Zeds. This is going to be the Director's Cut Level 5, and we'll be playing the standard solo game. The game is set up, and I have selected Deputy Schmidt as my selected character. Our random characters are Otto Sarge Hauser, Alan Zeno Jones, and Mr. Johnson. Courtesy of Mr. Johnson's stockpiles, I was able to increase our supplies by 2 and ammo by 3. So we've got 8 supplies and 7 ammo. As we're playing the true solo version, we have only one player action token, but Deputy Schmidt has his initiative token. Zeno Jones has his own agenda token. So we'll be able to use those as well. And a lot of people are probably wondering why not play the co-op version. If you play the co-op version, every one of the characters will have a player action token, and that's true. But when you do that, you're going to be subject to the Zeds pressure events, and those are quite common in the game, so that is the counterbalance. When we're playing the solitaire version, we can ignore those Zeds pressure events. But if we were to play the co-op version, we'll get the player action tokens, but then those pressure events were going to be active, and those are not good. Our starting situation is as follows. On the forest track, we've got a 5-strength Zed closing in on St. Thomas, which is defended by a 3-strength civilian unit. On the mountain track, we have a 5-strength Zed approaching Lefty's Pass, and that's defended by a 2-strength civilians unit. On the highway track, same situation. 5-strength Zed approaching Engeberg, defended by a 2-strength civilian unit. On the tunnel track, we have a 4-strength Zed approaching the Chromotechnics lab, which is currently undefended. Nearest unit we have is a 3-strength security guard unit at the security guard post. And finally, on the suburbs track, we have a 6-strength Zed going to be approaching East Irick, and that is currently defended by a 2-strength civilian unit. So I deemed the civilian track to be the most dangerous at this point. I'm probably going to send Mr. Johnson down there. He's very good at being able to help defend areas. He has some special abilities, heavy weapons, practical medicine, and the traps ability. So that will be pretty helpful in securing the suburbs track. I'm also going to be utilizing Zeno's Where Did He Go ability. During the 4R phase, we can spend 1 available refugee activation to place the hero directly in the laboratory or hospital. So that will help in jump-starting our research. I'm also planning on trying to utilize Sarge's forage ability. That'll give him a +1 to forage die rolls. And I'd also like to make sure I use his drill instructor ability. As an action, we can train a regular civilians unit on or adjacent to the space. If it has a defiant marker, we're going to remove that and place a trained marker there. And it will keep that until it's eliminated. Trained units will receive +2 strength. And finally, we're going to utilize the checkmates. They have a special ability called strategists. At the start of each action phase, they're going to roll a die. And if the result is greater than the number of event actions received during the turn, we're going to gain 1 additional one. So that is a very good force multiplier for us. We have to make sure that we utilize as many of these advantages as possible in order to win at this Director's Cut level. I'm also going to be including the 3 expansions into this playthrough. However, we won't be utilizing the Trains module. We're ready to begin, and we'll start by turning over our first event card. This one is Infected Water Supply. Okay, we'll begin with a 4R phase. And with that 4R phase, we're going to utilize Zeno Jones's special ability, Where Did He Go? During the 4R phase, you may spend 1 available refugee's activation to place the hero directly on the laboratory or hospital. So we're going to do that. We're going to place Zeno directly into the laboratory. and he can get started with his research. Next is the infection phase. Our infection level is at 0, so we don't need to roll. In the eat phase, we have a die there. Well, no one is in the general hospital or in the refugee camp, so no need to roll there. Now we go to the ZEDS activation, and they're going to be activating on the mountain track and the forest track. And the special event says at the beginning of this phase, we're going to roll a die and apply that many total losses in any combination of supply losses or hits to player units. Okay, so we'll make a die roll and see how much we have to lose. Hopefully it's a low number. And of course it's a 6. Oh boy. Well, we've got to lose 6 supplies or take hits to units. So I think what I'll do is I'll move our supplies down 5. That'll move us from 8 down to 3. And we'll absorb that other loss by damaging one of our units. And I think we'll place a damage marker on the civilians unit in the town center. We have some ability to repair those units. We've got Sarge's replacements ability. When in a town center, as an action, he can spend an ammo and remove a hit from a regular civilians unit that is not in the hospital. The other option is to use Mr. Johnson's practical medicine. As an action, perform a heal action on any unit on or adjacent to the space at the cost of 1 supply. All right, now we've got activations on the mountain track and on the forest track. So the 5-strength Zed moves into trail 6. And on the forest track, 5-strength Zed moves into Route 6, approaching St. Thomas. Now we're going to receive 2 action points, and we get to use the Checkmate's special ability. We're going to roll a d6, and if we can roll higher than the number of activation points on the card, we'll receive an extra activation point. So here's the roll. The result is a 2, so we won't get it. So we have 2 event actions. So we've got movement on the forest track and on the mountain track. The mountain track is going to be the one that is going to be hit first at Lefty's Pass if that activates again. So I think I'm going to utilize Deputy Schmidt's initiative token. That'll give him an action, and I think we'll start moving him down the mountain track. He has a movement of 4. So he'll move 1, 2, 3, 4. And his initiative is spent. Next, I'm going to use Zeno Jones's token, his own agenda. And that allows him to receive a character action to spend on his unit only. And we're going to have him do some research. All right, we begin the game with the DPC commission, and it says you can begin researching the cure for Zeds. We need to make a research roll for Zeno. You need to get a 3 or greater, and that is going to allow us to get the next research card. And here's the roll. Result is a 4, so we are successful, and we get to draw a new research card. This time we've got Confident Scientists. Remove 1 chaos marker for free with no infection increase. Our next research is going to be more difficult. We're going to need a 5 or a 6. So as long as this card is active, we can do what's on the card. All right. Well, we're going to spend 1 of our event actions, leaving us with 1. And I think we need to move Deputy Schmidt to Lefty's Pass. It'll give us a better chance of defending that area. So we're going to activate him for movement, and he will move into Lefty's Pass, and he's going to take charge of the defense of that area. So we have a player action token and 1 event action remaining. I think we'll use our last event action, and we're going to activate Mr. Johnson. He is going to use his scavenger ability. We'll be able to roll 2 dice and take the best result. So here's Mr. Johnson's scavenge ability in the town center. Okay, his highest roll is a 4, and that allows us to gain 1 supply. So we'll move our supplies up from 3 to 4. And now we have 1 player action token remaining, and that's what we have. And I think for our last action, that'll be using our player action. We'll use Mr. Johnson's Practical Medicine. As an action, perform a heal action on any unit on or adjacent to this space, including himself at the cost of a supply. So we'll move supplies back down to 3, and we'll heal that unit that was damaged during the infected water supply. So we'll move on to the housekeeping phase, where we're going to discard the current event, and then we will get all of our tokens back. And we're ready for our next event draw. This time we've got the Nile is not a river in Egypt. Okay, so we're going to start out with a 4R phase. There's no points there. Move to our infection phase. We won't need to roll for that. Infection level's at 0. Same with the eat phase. We have no reason to roll. No one is in the hospital or refugee camp. The Zeds are going to activate on the forest track and on the highway track. So the Zeds units on the forest track move into Route 5, and they're approaching St. Thomas. Same will happen on the highway track. We have a 5 strength Zed moving into Interstate 6, and they're approaching Ingeborg. Okay, next is our activation phase. We're going to start out with 2 activation points. We'll make a roll for the checkmates. If we can get higher than a 2, we'll have an extra action point. We've got a 6, so we've got 3 event actions for the turn. It says during this phase, player units in a space next to Zeds units cannot perform move actions or gunfire attacks. All right, I think we'll begin with Zeno Jones. He's going to use his own agenda, and we'll have him attempt to do research. So he's going to need a 5 or 6 to be successful. Here's the roll. And he rolled a 2, so we have no success. Deputy Schmidt is currently in Lefty's Pass, and he can't use any gunfire attacks because of that Denial is not a river in Egypt event card. So we'll have him use his initiative, and he's going to do some scavenging. So we're in the town of Lefty's Pass, and we're going to attempt a forage action there. Deputy Schmidt will be consulting the town and town center row, and we'll see what he gets for a die roll. He rolls a 5, and that's going to allow him to find 1 supply. We move our supplies up to 4. That's great. I'm going to spend our player action token, and we're going to have Mr. Johnson use his scavenger ability in the town center. Gets him to roll 2 dice, and he gets to pick the highest of those. Here's his scavenge roll. High roll is a 5, and that allows him to get another supply. That'll move our supplies up to 5. It's very important for us to keep these supplies up, so that's good. I'm going to spend 1 of our 3 event actions, and we're going to activate the Sarge for movement. Sarge has a move of 4, so we're going to move him to the farm. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. So the Sarge is at the farm, and we're going to spend 1 more action point, moving us down to 1 of our event actions, and he's going to utilize his drill instructor ability as an action. Train a regular civilians unit on or adjacent to his space. If it has a defiant marker, remove the marker and place a trained marker there. So that's what we're going to do. The defiant civilians are now trained, and that's going to give them a +2 to their strength. So that trained unit now is a 5. And I think for our final action, Sarge up in the farm is going to do some foraging. Now he has forage ability, which is going to give him a +1 to the die roll. So we'll be using the farm row, and we will make the die roll. +1. He rolls a 5 that's modified to a 6. That's going to allow us to get 2 supplies. That'll move our supplies up from 5 up to 7. And that's going to complete all our actions for the turn, and we'll go to our housekeeping step. All right, so the current event is going to be discarded, and we will draw our next event card for the next turn. And this time we've got Fortune Favors the Prepared. Okay, we're going to begin with 1 4R. Well, the only eligible unit that we could move would be that trained civilians unit in St. Thomas. But I think we'll keep them there. So we'll move on to the next step, and that is infection phase. Once again, infection is at 0. During our eat phase, we have to consume 1 supply, so that will move our supplies from 7 down to 6. And now the Zeds will activate, and it says it's going to be the highway track and then any one other. So it'll be our discretion on that next movement. So the 5-strength Zed in Interstate 6 is moving into Ingeborg. We're going to use our civilian units to defend, so they are no longer defiant. And we're going to get a 1 shift for the defenses of the town. So right now it is 5-2, and that is 2-1. With the shift will be a Zed's advantage. All right, we'll resolve the combat. For Zed's advantage, the result is a 2, and that is not good. Zed's advantage with a 2, we're going to take 4 hits, and then we have to retreat. So 1, 2 will flip the unit. 3, 4 will destroy the unit. That interaction is going to raise the infection level up by 1. Now we have to make a saving roll for those civilians. Here is the roll. We've rolled a 3, so the civilians are going to go to the cemetery. The Zeds will move in and take control of Ingeborg, and chaos is going to abound. These units are no longer defiant. They're going to be fleeing. The refugees will flee into Interstate 4. And now we have to select any one track to activate. I think we're going to activate the suburbs track, and the 6-strength Zed is going to move into 6th Street, threatening East Irick. Now it's our activation phase. We're going to gain 1 event activation point, and we'll make a roll for the checkmates. Anything except a 1, and we'll gain an extra point. And we've done it. So we've got 2 event actions for the turn. And on the card it says at the beginning of this phase, there would be the Zed's pressure event. That won't occur. It says then each hero and heroic civilian unit in a named space can conduct 1 free forage action. That is awesome. So we'll begin with Sarge up in the farm area. And the Sarge gets to have +1 to any forage roll, so we'll try it. He rolls a 4 that's modified to a 5, and a 5 at the farm is a supply. We're up to 7 supplies. Let's see who else we can attempt this with. We'll try it with Mr. Johnson. He has the scavenger ability. I'll allow him 2 dice. Here's his 2 dice roll. His highest roll is a 3, and that is no effect. All right. And let's see who else we have. We've got Deputy Schmidt. He is in a valid area. We'll have him make a roll using the town and town center roll. He rolls a 3. That's ineffective. So that's going to complete our events. I guess it does say that we can Heroic civilians can also attempt it, so I guess we will do that with the checkmates. So they'll attempt the roll in the town center. Why not? Rolls a 1, that's a failure. Okay, so we finished the event now, and now we have a total of 2 event actions plus our token actions. And once again, we're going to continue with Zeno Jones. He's going to use his own agenda and attempt some more research. He's going to need a 5 or 6 to be successful. The result is a 6, so we are successful and we can draw our next research card. This time we've got half turning. While this is the current research card, all Z outbreaks automatically reset the infection level to 2. That is great. And the next research would be 4, 5, or 6. We might want to consider actually leaving that. That would be a pretty good research card. Okay, I think we're going to use Deputy Schmidt's initiative token, and he's going to launch a ranged attack on the 5 strength Z on trail 6. Deputy Schmidt has a strength of 4, so he'll be using 4 on the gunfire attack table. We'll subtract 1 ammunition, moving us down to 6. And then he's going to make a 2d6 roll, and we'll see how we do. He's rolled a 12. That is amazing, and we're going to do 3 points of damage to that Z unit. 1, 2, and 3 will flip the unit. That is awesome. All right, we're going to use one of our event actions, moving us from 2 down to 1, and the Sarge is going to forage at the farm. His foraging attempt is +1 because of his forage ability. Here's the roll. The result is a 5 that's modified to a 6, and a 6 at the farm is 2 supplies, moving us up from 7 up to 9. That is awesome. Well, I'm going to use one of our event actions, and we're going to activate our fleeing villagers for movement. I'm going to get them out of the range of that zombie force in Ingeborg. So we will activate them and move them into the nuclear plant. I'm going to use my last action, which is the player action token, and we're going to activate Mr. Johnson, I believe. And we're going to have him activate for movement. He has a movement of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that will help to protect those fleeing villagers. All right, that is all of our actions. We're going to go to our housekeeping phase. All right, the event card is put into the discard, and we're ready for our next event draw. And this time, we've got right beneath our feet. Okay, we've got 0 on the 4 R's. Our infection level is currently at 1, so we don't have to worry about rolling. We can't roll equal to or less than a 1 with 2 dice. Eat is 0. The Zeds are going to activate on the highway track, the suburbs track, and the mountain track. And it says, at the beginning of the phase, make a fate draw. Select any civilians or hero unit on that fated track, but not in town center or the start space. It immediately suffers a Zed's hand-to-hand attack on the equal to column with normal infection increase, terrain shifts, etc. All right, if it was a defiant civilians unit, it is no longer defiant. Okay, so we have to do that first. We'll draw a fate card. So we draw a fate card, and this fate card says it's going to occur on the highway. And we have a fated event, back to the drawing board, and it says play this card. Well, we have to resolve this right beneath our feet first, so we'll go to the highway track. Well, the only eligible unit on the highway track is Mr. Johnson. So Mr. Johnson is going to suffer an equal to attack from zombies sprouting up from the ground right beneath his feet. He is going to gain 1 column shift though, so we'll be at the human advantage level. Here is the roll. He's rolled an 8, and an 8 on human advantage is he'll lose 1. We would inflict 3 normally to the opponent, but not in this case. There's just random zombies sprouting from the ground. So he would take 1 hit. Now, Mr. Johnson has practical medicine, which we can use eventually to try to heal him, but for right now, he's going to take 1 hit, and we'll mark him accordingly. And in fact, that 1 hit is going to flip him to the opposite side, so he's wounded. Now we have to resolve this fate card, which says back to the drawing board. Play this card. We're going to roll a die, and then depending upon the roll, we'll see what happens. Here is the roll. We rolled a 5, and that is no effect. All right, so the fated event is complete, and now we can move on to the rest of the activations. So in this case, the zombies will activate on the highway track, suburbs track, and the mountain track. So we'll begin with the highway track, and they're going to move it from Ingeborg into Interstate 4. On the suburbs track, 6th Strength Zed moves from 6th Street into East Irick, defended by some Defiant civilians. They're going to lose their Defiant classification, and right now it's Zeds times 3. Luckily, we're going to be able to gain a shift to the right. So we're going to go from Zeds times 3 to Zeds times 2. And here's the Zeds attack at East Irick. The result is an 8. An 8 on Zeds times 2. We're going to lose 2. The Zeds will lose 1, and we must retreat. All right. So we're going to take 2 losses, and that will flip the unit. Zeds will take 1 damage. Now we have to retreat. So our civilian units will retreat back to the university. And then the Zeds will take control of East Irick. And we're going to place a chaos marker there. The Defiant villagers will flee, and they're going to flee to Farmingdale University. All right. Finally, the mountain track will activate. We've got a 3-strength damage Zed that is going to be moving into Lefty's Pass, and we're going to use Deputy Schmidt as the defender. So right now, the status is we are at human advantage, 4-3. We're also going to gain 1 shift, moving us to human times 2 because of the defenses of Lefty's Pass. Here's the roll. We've rolled an 8, and an 8 will result in 3 losses to the Zeds, none to us. 3 is going to destroy that unit. 3 losses. And that is going to put that back into the draw bag. And now we have to update our infection levels. We had to gain 1 for the attack in East Irick and another 1 for the attack at Lefty's Pass. And in addition, we should have taken 1 for the right beneath our feet attack that occurred due to the event card. All right, we're going to gain 2 event actions for the turn. We'll make the roll for the checkmates. We need to get a 3 or greater. And we've done it, so that'll get us an extra activation. Those checkmates are doing a great job for us. Well, I think we're going to begin by spending 1 of our event actions, and Mr. Johnson is going to use his practical medicine. As an action, perform a heal action on any unit on or adjacent to his space, including himself, at the cost of 1 supply. So we'll move the supplies down from 9 to 8, and Mr. Johnson will heal. All right. I think Mr. Johnson is now going to make a gunfire attack on the 5-strength Zed on Interstate 4. So we'll move our ammunition down to 5. And he has heavy weapons. He's going to receive 2 column shifts. So He's going to actually be on a gunfire attack of 5. So let's see how he does. He's rolled a 4, and that's going to do only 1 point of damage to that Zed. That wasn't so good. All right, 1 point. I think we're going to try that again. We're going to spend another ammunition and another event action, and he's going to try that one more time. This time he rolls a 12, and that is 4 points of damage. That is amazing. So he's going to take 4 points of damage on this Zed. 1, 2 is going to flip it, and 3, 4 will leave it down to 1 point. That's great. All right. All right, Deputy Schmidt is at Lefty's Pass. We're going to use his initiative token, and he's going to attempt to do some foraging. Okay, he's foraging in a town. Here is the roll. He's rolled a 3. That's a failure. Well, we're going to use another event action, and we're going to activate our fleeing refugees. They're going to move from the university to Beauville. Try to get them out of harm's way. I think we're also going to use our player action token, and we'll spend that, and we're going to activate those wounded civilians, and they're also going to move into Beauville. All that remains is Zeno's his own agenda. We'll use that token, and he's going to attempt some research at the laboratory. We need a 4 or greater to be successful. And he has failed. All right. We'll move on to our housekeeping phase. We'll get all of our tokens back to operational status. And then the event card will be discarded. All right, we're ready for our next event draw. This time we've got, uh-oh, you gotta be kidding. All right, we'll begin with 2 4R phase. And I think we'll use those 2 points to move these fleeing refugees into 2nd Street and another group into Interstate 2. Okay, we'll have no infection phase. The 8 phase, we can pass on that. We have nobody in the hospital or refugee camp. And now all tracks are going to activate. And it says at the beginning of this phase, place a new Zeds unit on the start space of every track. Apply the stacking limit if necessary. And then remove all hit markers from Zeds units. Okay. All right, so a new Zeds unit is going to be placed on each of the starting tracks. And we'll draw those and see what we get. Here's the suburbs track. That's a 4 strength Zed. Forest track is a 6 strength Zed. Mountain track is a 5 strength Zed. Highway track is a 6 strength Zed. And finally, our tunnel track is going to be a 7 strength Zed, and that's going to form an 11 strength Zed mob. Okay, all of the Zeds now are going to heal. So all of the Zeds will lose any hit markers that they have. I believe that is all of them. And now all the tracks are going to activate. We'll begin with the suburbs track. We've got a 6 strength Zed moving into Farmingdale, and that is going to spread chaos. 4 strength Zed will now activate and move into 6th Street. On the farming track, on the forest track, we're going to have a 5 strength Zed attacking our trained forces in St. Thomas. So our trained forces get +2 to their strength, so that's 5 versus 5, so we're at equal to, and then we're going to gain 1 shift for the defenses of the town, which will give us human advantage. So we'll make a dice roll and see what the results of the battle are. Human advantage. We've rolled an 8, and that's going to be 3 damage to the Zeds. They'll have to retreat, and we will take 1 damage. So we'll mark us with 1 damage. The Zeds will take 3, flipping them over and forcing them to retreat. Then the Zeds in the starting space will move up to Route 6. Okay, we'll move to the mountain track. 5 strength Zed is going to move into Trail 6. All right. Now at the highway track, we've got a 1 strength Zed moving into the space with Mr. Johnson. So right now we've got a 3-to-1 advantage. That's the highest we can get. So we'll make the roll and see what happens. We would get a shift to the right, but you can't go any higher than 3-to-1. So we are at human times 3. Here's the roll. We've rolled an 8, and that is 3-step loss for the Zeds. And that's going to take them out 1, 2, and 3. So Mr. Johnson is doing good. We've got to count for our infections, though. We've had 1 at St. Thomas. That moves us up to 5. And we had 1 here, the nuclear plant, that puts us up to an infection level of 6. And finally, at the tunnel track, we've got an 11 strength Zed mob moving into the chromotechnics lab. That's going to place an additional chaos marker in the technics lab. And right now we've got a total of 8 chaos markers left to deploy. All right, we're going to have 1 action point, and we'll make a roll for the checkmates. Anything greater than 1, and we'll get an additional point. And we've done it. So we're going to have 2 event actions. Now we can take our turn. All right, looks like the suburbs track is the problem for right now. They're in control of the Farmingdale University, and we're going to be having a problem here in Beauville pretty soon, so we're going to have to do something about that. All right, currently we have 8 supplies and 4 ammo. I think we will start by using an event action, and we're going to activate Sarge Hauser. He has a movement of 4. I think we'll have to get him towards the suburbs track. 1, 2, 3, 4. He's at the town center. I think we'll spend another event action and we'll activate Sarge once again, but I'm only going to move him 3 spaces into 2nd Street. I've got a plan. All right. We're going to use our player action token for Sarge. He's going to implement his drill instructor ability, and an adjacent unit is now going to go from defiant to trained, moving that up to a strength of 6. Deputy Schmidt is going to use a gunfire attack. We're going to lower our ammunition from 4 down to 3, and he'll make a 4 strength gunfire attack on these approaching Zeds from Trail 6. Okay, so we're going to be using the 4 column. Here's the roll. And we've rolled Snake Eyes. We've got no effect. That's great. So we've used Deputy Schmidt's initiative token, and all that remains is Alan Zeno Jones. And I think we will have him do some research. All right, Zeno is going to use his own agenda token, and he'll do research in the lab. He needs a 4, 5, or 6. He's got a 3, so no help there. All right, that is all of our actions, and now we will do our housekeeping and get ready for another event card. Okay, here's our next event card draw. This time we've got Something Wicked This Way Comes. Okay, we've got nothing on the 4 R's. We will have to roll for infection. We have an infection level of 6 currently. All right, our infection level is at 6. There are no disease spreaders on the board, so we are going to make a die roll and check for an outbreak. We need to roll greater than 6 is what we're looking for. And we've done it. We've got 10, so we're good for the moment. During our eat phase, we've got no one to have to roll for. Now, all Zeds are going to activate once again. And then it says, then for each catacomb space, we're going to roll a die. And then we're going to either place new Zeds or there'll be no effect. Okay, this is at the beginning of the phase, so we have to do this first. Okay, we'll make a roll for the catacombs in Red Labs 5. Here's the roll. The result is a 4, so we have to place a new Z unit there. There's unlimited stacking in these catacombs. Okay, here's the unit, and it's going to be a 6 strength Z there. Next, we'll roll for the catacombs in Red Labs 3. And that's a 1, and we're going to be placing 2 Z units there. Oh no. Okay, and the 2 Z units are a 4 strength and a 5 strength. All right. One advantage we have in the catacombs is that unless you're on I should say the tunnel track, if you're on anything except the catacombs, it's only single file, so you won't have to worry so much about being attacked by zombie hordes. All right, now each of the tracks is going to activate. So we'll have to start with the forest track. We've got a 3 strength Z moving once again into St. Thomas. And right now our strength is 5 because we have a trained unit against 3 for the Zeds. So we're going to have human advantage. It's not quite 2 to 1 yet. So we have human advantage, and then we're going to gain a shift for the defenses. Puts us up to human times 2. We'll make the roll and see how we do. Okay, here's the roll for the battle in St. Thomas. We've rolled an 11. And 11 is 3 damage to the Zeds, and they must retreat. Well, there's going to be no Zeds left to retreat. 3 steps is going to kill it. All right, now the 6 strength Z in Route 6 will move up to Route 5. So far we're doing okay on that track. Okay, now we're on the mountain track, and we've got a 5 strength Z approaching Lefty's Pass. It's going to increase the infection rate by 1. We'll also get an infection rate increase from the battle at St. Thomas. We're up to 8 right now. And I guess we will have Deputy Schmidt be our defensive unit. So right now it is 5 to 4. That is Zed's advantage. And we will gain 1 column shift, making it equal to. Our civilians will now become not defiant anymore. And we'll make the roll on the equal to column. Here's the battle for Lefty's Pass. We've rolled a 5. That's not going to be good enough. We're going to take 2 damage, and the Zeds will take 1. So we'll mark the Zeds with 1 damage. We have to take 2 damage, and that is unfortunately going to flip and take out the deputy. So we'll see what his status is. On a 4, 5, or 6, he will be taken to the hospital. Otherwise, he goes to the cemetery. Here's the roll. He's got a 4, so we're going to place him in the hospital. We'll put him on a hospital bed with an EKG marker. That is also going to raise the infection level by 1. Incidentally, I forgot when we healed that group of people in the town center earlier, we should have moved the infection rate down 1. So I'm going to move that back down now, down to an infection rate of 7. All right, we've lost the battle at Lefty's Pass. So zombies will take control of Lefty's Pass, and all of our forces will have to flee to the Lucky Strike mine. So once again, more chaos spreading. Highway track activates, and a 6 strength Z moves into Interstate 6. And now the tunnel track is going to activate. We'll begin with the Zed mob that is in the catacombs. And we'll have to make a roll for each of those separately. So each unit is going to have to roll to see what happens to it in the catacombs. We start with the strongest unit, so that 5 strength Zed, and we'll find out what's going to happen with him. He rolled a 3, and that's a normal move, so he is going to move into security guard post. And right now, while the battle, it's Zed's advantage, and we'll gain 1 column shift, bringing it to equal 2. The infection level will move up to 8. Here's the roll. We rolled a 4, and unfortunately a 4 is 3 damage to us, and we have to retreat. So 1, 2 will flip the unit, and a 3rd will place a damage marker on it, and he has to retreat. The Zeds have taken control of the security guard post, and chaos is going to reign. The 4th strength Zed, even though it can't move, still has to roll. So we'll see what it does. A 1, it would move normally. Well, you can't do that in the tunnel track, so it'll stay where it is. Now we'll roll for the Zed that is in the catacombs in Red Labs 5. And he's rolled a 5, and that is remain, so he will stay where he is. And finally, we have a Zed's mob in the Chromotechnics lab, and 7 strength Zed will move up. 4 has no place to go. And finally, we go to the suburbs track, and we're going to have a 6 strength Zed activate and try to attempt to move into Beauville. We're going to use our trained civilians. So we've got 6 to 6 with a 1 column shift is going to give us human advantage. So we'll make hand-to-hand roll for that battle. Infection level now is at 9. Okay, and we got to get that dice tower into frame. I'll try it there. Okay, here's the combat roll with human advantage. We rolled an 8. That's going to be 3 damage to the Zeds, 1 to us. So we'll take 1 point of damage. The Zeds will take 3. We'll flip it, and it will retreat. Then finally, a Zed in 6th Street will move into East Irick. That'll complete the Zed's activations. All right, we're going to get 3 event actions, and we'll make a roll for the checkmates. If we can get a 4, 5, or 6, we'll get an additional point. And we've done it, so we've got 4 event actions for this turn, and we're going to need them. Okay, I'm going to begin by using an event action, moving us from 4 to 3, and we're going to heal Deputy Schmidt. That'll take the EKG marker off of him, and that's as much healing as we can do for him. We could discharge him for free. That would move him out in the town center, but I think we'll leave him there for now. We're definitely having a problem on the tunnel track. So I think what we'll do is spend an event action and move this force into the town center basement. All right. I think we'll spend another event action, moving us down to 1. And we're going to activate Mr. Johnson for movement. He has a movement of 4. So we'll move him 1, 2, 3, 4 into town center. And then we'll take, I think, advantage of his practical medicine. He'll spend our last event action, and he's going to do a heal on a unit in or adjacent to himself. We'll drop our supplies down to 7. And we'll heal 1 point of damage from that damaged security guard unit. All right. Well, Deputy Schmidt has an initiative token, but he can't use that while he's in the hospital. So I wonder if we should discharge him. And maybe we'll do that. We'll discharge Deputy Schmidt. And then he can use his initiative token. So we'll spend that. And I just noticed that Deputy Schmidt was an Eagle Scout. He should have received another column shift in hand-to-hand combat. I didn't take advantage of that. Okay. So we'll use his event action and we're going to do some foraging. So he is in the town center and we'll have him make a roll. He rolls a 2, there's no effect. Okay, the only thing we have left is a player action token and Zeno Jones. And I guess we're going to use our player action token and we'll have Mr. Johnson attempt some foraging. He has the scavenger ability, so he'll roll 2 dice in the town center. He's rolled a 6, and that's going to allow him to either take a supply or an ammo. We'll take the ammo, moving us up to 4. All right, all that's left now is Zeno. He can use his own agenda token. And he'll give it a shot. He needs a 4, 5, or 6 to complete more research. And he's done it. So our next early research card is Zed's Jerky. All right, we're going to gain 2 supplies. That moves our supply level up to 9. The card reads, animals attacked by Zeds that escaped and did not turn were deemed uninfected and safe to eat by scientists. These poor survivors were quickly scavenged by hungry locals for protein. The most popular new food is seasoned meat strips dubbed Zed's Jerky. Okay, that is going to complete the turn. We'll go to our housekeeping phase, get our tokens back, and we'll get ready for our next event. All right, we're ready for our next event. And we've got, brains. Conduct this special turn only. All right, the infection level is going to go up by 4, and unfortunately that is going to set off an unrestricted infection. It's going to be an outbreak. Okay, we're going to roll 2 dice and we'll reduce the infection level by that rolled amount. Hopefully we can roll high here. We rolled 7, so that's going to move it down to 6. All right, now we have to resolve the unchecked outbreak. So we have to make a fate card draw, and then instead of a normal Zed, it's going to be a super Zed. This is going to occur where the fewest Zed units are located. Okay. Well, the fewest Zed units are going to be tied at 1 between the forest track, the mountain track, and the highway track. Well, I'm going to select the highway track, so we're going to be drawing a Super Zeds, and he's going to go on the space, chaos space closest to town center, so it's going to go in Ingeborg. And we've randomly drawn, we've drawn a 7 strength Doom Zed. No one is sure who or what is responsible for bringing these Zeds out into the light. Some suspect the Doom Zeds to be mutated native wildlife, the result of a foul laboratory waste which was dumped into the catacombs behind Dr. Martus's lab. Whatever the cause, everyone can agree it would be best be undone. Doom Zeds are ugly, slimy, and vicious, so repulsive that few can withstand the sight of them for even a few minutes. Any unit engaging them in hand-to-hand combat automatically loses and must retreat, regardless of the combat result. Hits are still applied. If this unit engages in hand-to-hand combat with another unit that forces retreats, the combat will determine who wins or loses. Okay. Now returning to that brains card, it says all tracks are going to activate with each Zed unit advancing a space only. However, if a Zed's unit activation results in a combat that it wins, it immediately advances again. Repeat as necessary. After activating all Zed units, this special turn is over and we would draw the next event. Okay. All right, we're going to begin with the forest track, and we've got a 6 strength Zed advancing on our trained forces in St. Thomas. So currently the combat is 6-5 because of our trained capabilities. And we're going to gain a 1 column shift for the defenses. So what's going to be equal to. And we need to win this, otherwise that thing is going to keep advancing. Here's the roll. We rolled a 9. A 9 on equal to is 2 damage to the Zeds, 1 to us, and it must retreat. So that's great. We've stopped them. So we're going to take another damage, and that is going to flip us. The Zed is going to take 2 damage, and it will have to retreat. So we've stopped their advance on that track. That's great. Now moving on to the mountain track. We're going to have a damaged Zed from Lefty's Pass, strength of 5, attacking our 2 strength civilians unit. So right now it's 2-1 Zeds, and we'll gain a shift, so it's going to be Zed's advantage. And we're going to need a good roll to stop them. Okay, here is the roll. And we rolled a 3, and we're going to lose 3 steps. That's going to 1, 2 will flip the unit, and a 3rd will place a wound on it. We get a wound marker out. And we've lost the battle. No damage to the Zeds, and we have to flee. So we're going to retreat. The Zeds will move in. The fleeing refugees are going to be devoured. And they're going to take control of the Lucky Strike mine. And our woes are not over yet. The Zeds will continue to advance. And now we have to deal with these fleeing refugees. When they're devoured, it's going to raise the infection level by 2. It's going to go up to 8. And now we'll have to see what happens to the refugees. Here's their saving throw. And they are going to the cemetery. Now we're going to continue with the attack, and this is going to be Zeds times 3. Okay. Nothing we can do about this. We need a 12 basically. And we've got an 11. And that's going to be 1 damage to the Zeds, 2 to us. All right, so the Zeds will take another damage. That's its 2nd. And we're going to take 1 damage. 2 damage. Yeah, we take 2 damage. And that's going to be enough to kill this unit. It's going to raise the infection level up to 9. We'll have to make a saving throw for those units that are going to be killed. And we've passed it, so we can put them into a hospital bed with an EKG marker. That's going to raise the infection level up to 10. And the Zeds are now in control of trail number 3. And they're going to immediately advance again, and that will finally stop their advance into the campground. And they're going to take control with another chaos marker. We're down to 4 chaos markers. Now it is the highway track. And these Doom Zeds are going to move up into Interstate 4. Zeds behind them will move into Ingeborg. That'll end their advance. Now we switch to the tunnel track. 5 strength Zed will move into Red Labs 1. Now we'll have to roll for the Zed in the catacombs. We'll see what happens with that. Here's the roll. Roll is a 1, and it will move normally. We'll do the same for the Zed trying to move into Dr. Martus's office. Catacomb roll. A 2, it'll move normally, moving into Dr. Martus's office, and it's going to spread chaos there. We're down to 3 chaos markers. 7 strength Zed will move into the catacombs. 4-strength Zed will move behind it. We're losing control quickly. And finally, we move to the suburbs track. We're going to have a 3-strength Zed moving into 3rd Street, which is the town of Beauville. We have a trained unit there, so right now it's 6-3. So we're winning 2-1. We'll get a column shift, moving us up to human times 3, which is the best we can do. And here's our hand-to-hand combat roll at 3 times. We're going to move the infection level up to 11 right now for this attack. Here's the roll. We've rolled an 8, and that is 3 damage to the Zeds, and that's going to take them out. They're done. The other Zeds will move up behind into the Farmingdale University, and that will bring the Brains event to a close. So the Brains card is done. And we do have this gruesome bonfire. It says use a stockpile of kerosene to burn infected bodies. Play at any time for a 2-step loss to infection level. Well, we might as well use it now. We'll burn that card right away and we'll drop the infection level by 2, and that'll lower it down to 9. Okay. We're ready for our next event, and we've got a long way to go, folks. Okay, this one is the doctor is in. Okay, we've got a 0 for our 4 R's. There's no infection, no eat. The Zeds will activate on highway, mountain, and in the tunnel track. All right, now during the infection phase, it says at the end of this phase, immediately place infection to 13 and conduct a unchecked outbreak. Oh no. Well, infection is at 13. We'll have to roll to see how far we can drop that down. And then it's going to be another unchecked outbreak. Here's the roll for the infection. We've dropped it by 8, so that'll move it down to 5. And now we have to get a fate card and see where the fated track is. Okay. This is going to be in the highway track. All right, so we're going to be placing a Super Zed in Ingeborg in this case. That's the chaos place closest to the town center. So we'll draw a Super Zed and place it in Ingeborg. And this time we've got it's a 5-strength Zed. And it has a hazardous ability. And these Super Zeds are called oozers. As the name implies, oozing is what oozers do a lot. Highly infectious. Oozers secrete mucus, green ooze, that sticks to everything they touch, making them significantly more contagious and toxic than normal Zeds. All hand-to-hand fighting with this unit or a Zed's mob containing this unit increases the infection level by 3 instead of 1. Wow. Well, the Zeds on the highway track will now activate. 7th strength Doom Zed moves into the nuclear plant, and another chaos marker is born. The Zed's mob will move into Interstate 4. And we're slipping away quickly here. Now the mountain track activates. The damaged Zed in Trail 2 moves to Trail 1. We desperately need to get some personnel on the east side to help defend that area. And finally, we're going to have an advancement on the tunnel track. The 5-strength Zed is going to be attacking into the town center basement. All right, so we're going to have that 4-strength security guard fighting against the 5-strength Zed. That'll be Zed's advantage, but we get a 2-column shift in that basement area, so that it's going to move us up to human advantage, and we desperately need a good roll here. So we'll make the roll and see what happens. Human advantage. We've rolled an 8. And that's going to inflict 3 damage to the Zeds, 1 to us. All right, so we'll place a damage marker on ourselves. The Zeds will take 3 points of damage. That will flip the unit, and it will retreat back whence it came. The other Z cannot move. It's a stacking limit in the tunnel of 1 unit. The other Zs will attempt to move now. This one will move into the catacombs. Now we'll roll for the catacomb unit in Red Labs 5. Result is a 4 and it will remain there. This Z is stacked up, and that's all of the activations for the Zs, but they've done some damage to us. Now we got to play this infected vermin fate card. Place the infected vermin standee on the start space of the track where there are the most Zs. Until this unit is removed, +1 infection at the beginning of every infection phase while the infected vermin is in play, but not on a start space. Okay. And that's going to start on the track with the most Zs. All right. So, in this case, it will be in the start space of the tunnel track. All right, we've got 1 activation point. We'll roll for the checkmates. If we get anything other than a 1, we'll get an extra 1. And we've done it. So we've got 2 activation points. Checkmates are performing very well. Well, we've got all kinds of problems here. I think what we'll do is spend 1 activation point, and we're going to heal this unit in the Farmingdale Hospital. And that's going to remove the EKG marker, and we'll place 1 damage point on that unit. Okay, we're going to spend our second action. We got to get forces over to east side. No doubt about it. And I think we will move Zeno Jones out of there. He's going to move 1, 2. We're going to spend his own agenda token, and he's going to make a gunfire attack. Now he has a prototype gun. The hero consumes a supply instead of an ammo when making a gunfire attack. We'll move our supplies down to 8, and Zeno will make a 4-point gunfire attack against the approaching Zeds. And here's the 4-point gunfire attack. He rolls a 9. A 9 is going to be 2 damage. So it's already got 2 on it. One of them will flip it, and a second one will place a damage marker there. Okay. All right, we have left Deputy Schmidt's initiative token and a player action. I think we'll use the player action token, and we are going to activate that security force into Red Labs 1. Maybe not. That 1-point attack, since that's in a singular file, wouldn't be too bad to absolve. So let's wait on that. Well, I think we'll use the player action token to move these fleeing refugees back 1. No sense making them cannon fodder. And all we have left is Deputy Schmidt and Mr. Johnson. Deputy Schmidt has the initiative token. So he'll use that, I believe, to scavenge. And we'll have him do a scavenge in the town center. All right, here is the roll. He's rolled a 6, and that allows him to either get a ammo or a supply. We'll take the ammo, moving us up to 5. Okay, that's all of our actions, and we will do our housekeeping now. And we're ready for our next event. This one is Alien Artifact Found. Okay, we've got 2 points to use in our 4R phase. I'm going to use those to move these fleeing villagers into downtown and these into the suspension bridge. All right. There's a special event during the 4R phase. It says at the beginning of the phase, make a fate draw and a die roll. Okay, well, we should have done that first, but here's the fate card draw. It's going to occur in the suburbs. Okay, and then we have to make a die roll. Here is the roll. It's a 1. It says place a new Super Z unit on the die roll space of the fated track. turn over the next card in the research deck for free. Okay, so we'll have to get out a Super Zed, and that is going to go on space 1. Oh no, that's the suspension bridge. Wow. All right. And we've drawn aware Zeds. That is going to happen on that space. The fleeing villagers are going to be devoured, raising the infection level by 2. And we'll make a roll for the villagers to see if they can somehow survive. Here's the roll. And they do. So we could place them into the hospital bed, and I guess we'll do that, putting an EKG marker on them. And then the infection level will rise 1 more for them being treated in the hospital. Now we've got were Zeds in the suspension bridge. And it says these Super Zed canines are also known as K10s because they are 1 level smarter and more vicious than normal canine units. These are curs that you need to put down quickly because their infectious bite is far worse than their bark. All hand-to-hand combat with were-Zeds increases the infection level by 2 instead of 1. After moving 1 space forward, were-Zeds will always try to move a 2nd space closer to the town center. If they are stacked with slower Zed units, the were-Zeds will abandon them and make their 2nd move. They cannot carry them. So if they begin the turn as a part of a Zed's mob, they move forward 1 space with the mob and then a 2nd space on their own. Think of them as fast Zeds, and each of their activations is a double move. This means that were-Zeds may advance up to 4 spaces on a turn with a double activation. Thankfully, during a Brains event, were-Zeds shuffle forward 1 space at a time, like any other Zeds unit. Okay. Well, that could be the final nail in our coffin. It does say now on number 2, turn over the next card in the research deck for free, so let's do that. And we've got Sasha Brooks volunteers. No special event occurs. All right. Next research is 3, 4, 5, or 6. Now we have to resolve this fate card. It says hold for later. Play during the action phase to convert 2 supplies into 1 ammo. You can do this as many times as you desire during the turn. All right, we'll keep the card. So that was the 4R phase. Now we have to do the infection phase. And we do have a disease spreader. That's in the tunnel track, so that won't affect us yet until that thing actually moves into a regular space. But we're going to have to make a roll on our infection chart. We're at 8 right now. Here is the roll. We rolled a 7, so the infection level will drop down to 1, and we're going to have an outbreak. So we have to draw another fate card to find out where this is going to happen, and it will occur in the suburbs. Okay. So it will occur in the suburbs track on the chaos spot closest to town center. And we have to actually place another chaos marker now at the suspension bridge. So it's going to occur there, and it's a 5 strength Zed there. There's only 1 chaos marker left. Now we've got this fate card called Liquid Courage. It says hold for later. You head to Reggie's Roadhouse for a brief respite and to gather your courage before the next onslaught. Play this card at the beginning of any hand-to-hand combat for a 1-time 2-column shift to the right. After the fight, however, the player unit suffers a hit. Well, we'll keep it. All right, next is the eat phase. Well, we've got 2 units in the Farmingdale Hospital, so we'll have to make a die roll for that. So we're going to want to roll higher than 2, otherwise we're going to have to use the supply up. We've rolled a 6, so we're good there. Now the Zeds are going to activate a double activation on the highway track and 1 on the tunnel track. So a double activation on the highway track. Here's 1 activation, and here's the 2nd. All right, now the tunnel track will activate. So the Zeds unit in Red Labs 1 will strike at the town center basement. It's going to be at human times 3. It's 4-to-1 right now, plus we would get 2 column shifts there. So we'll try this on human times 3. Okay, here's the roll. We've rolled a 2. Oh, boy. All right, so that would be 2 damage each, and the Zeds would have to retreat. I'm wondering if we should use, the liquid courage won't help us because we're already at maximum on the chart. So everybody's going to take 2 damage. So we'll place 2 damage on the Zeds. They'll return back to where they were. We have to take 2 damage. 1 more will flip the unit, and another hit will go on that unit. This is just terrible. Infection level will rise to 2. Now the other Zeds are going to activate. This one can't move, so he'll stay where he is. We'll roll for the Zed in the catacombs. He rolled a 5 and he'll remain there. This Zed will move into Martusa's office. Well, it has to roll for that first. A 2, it'll move normally. This one will move into the catacombs, and now that Zed, special Zed, moves into the chromotechnics lab, and that's going to activate it. So those disease spreaders are now active. All right, we're going to have 3 activation points. We'll make a roll for the checkmates. We need a 4 or better. They've done it, so we've got 4 activation points for the turn. All right, I think we'll spend 1 point to heal this unit in the hospital of 1 point of damage. It's going to allow us to drop the infection level down to 1. I think we'll spend a second action for Mr. Johnson to use his special ability, Practical Medicine. We'll drop our supplies from 8 to 7, and he's going to heal the sheriff, Deputy Schmidt. We'll spend another action using Mr. Johnson and his Practical Medicine. He can do that in his space or adjacent, and we will use that to heal that point on the security guard. That'll cost us another supply, and we'll lower the infection level down to 0. We have 1 event action plus our player action and the initiative token for Deputy Schmidt and Alan Zeno Jones's agenda. Well, Zeno's going to make a gunfire attack on this approaching Zed in Trail 1. So he has to spend, because of his prototype gun, it's going to consume a supply instead of an ammo. We're down to 5. Here's his 4-point gunfire attack. We've rolled an 8, and that's 2 points of damage. So 1 more point there, 1 will flip it. Oh, that's it. It was already flipped, so it is destroyed. He was able to kill it. Okay, that goes back into the Zed's bag, and that was Zeno's, his own agenda token spent. Well, we're going to use Deputy Schmidt's initiative token. He's going to move into suburbia, and I don't think we're going to be long for this world, the way it's looking. And I think we'll use our player action token, and we'll use that to have a gunfire attack from Deputy Schmidt. He has a strength of 4, and we'll see how many hits we can get. Okay, here's the roll. And we've rolled a 5 only, so that is 1 point of damage, and I guess we'll place that on the where Zeds. Okay, that is all of our actions. And we're ready for our next event, and we've still got a lot of them. Here's the next event, and this is Disaster at the Lab. We have 1 4R. All right, I'm going to use that to move these fleeing refugees into the town center. All right, so they arrive there, and then they go to the refugee camp That's going to raise the infection level by 1, up to 1. But then we get to draw a rumor token. So we're going to draw a rumor token out of the bag that will be face down. Place that according to a fate card draw. That'll tell us where to place it. And the fate card says it's going to be in the suburbs. All right. So in that case, it's going to go on the space on the suburbs track with the strongest Zeds or Zeds mob. So it's going to go at the Farmingdale Bridge, and we'll place it there. Okay. And then we have to resolve that fate card. And that says Alpha Z emerges. Place the leader marker on the strongest, closest to town center if tied regular Zeds unit. Then activate its track, moving all Zeds on it normally. Until eliminated, the Z leader unit receives a 1 shift to the left in hand-to-hand combat. Okay. So the Zed's leader token is going to go on the strongest standard Zed. The strongest standard Zed is this 7 strength Zed in Martus's office. So that's where it's going to go, and now that track is going to activate. We'll begin with an attack, a 1 strength Zed attacking a 2 strength security unit, and we're going to get a 2 shift to the right advantage. So we are currently at 2 to 1. It'll move it up to human 3 to 1. Okay, and we will make the roll. And I guess we'll just place this here. Infection level will rise by 1 up to 2. Here's the roll 3 times. Roll a 5, and that is 3 damage to the Zed, 1 to us. So we're going to take 1 damage. He's going to take 3, and that will destroy the unit. And now the other Zeds are going to start moving up. And we've got a 4 strength Zed. Now we'll roll for the catacombs. Here's the 6 strength Zed moving. Rolls a 4, he'll stay where he is. The leader can't move. We'll see if that... Well, this guy can't move either, but... Oh, he can. Yeah, the leader can move into a catacomb. That's right, there's unlimited stacking there. This guy will try to move into Martus's office. It's a 1, he'll move normally. And then the spreader will move. All right. All right, now we have to go to our infection phase. Our infection level is at 2. It's going to rise by 1 because of the spreader up to 3. So here's the roll. Roll to 5, so we're good for the time being. Now we'll make our eat roll. We have a total of 3 units between the camp and those in the hospital. So we need to roll greater than 3 in order to prevent a loss. We have not done it, so we're going to have to consume a supply, moving us from 5 to 4. Now the Zeds will activate once on the highway and twice in the tunnels. So the highway track will activate, and they've taken over downtown area, and that is the last of the chaos markers. Zed's mob will move up, and now 2 activations in the tunnels. So right now we have no chaos marker, so if we have to place one, we're going to lose. There'll be a double activation on the tunnel track now. Okay, here's the first activation. We've got a 4 strength Zed coming into the town center basement. We'll have this security guard formation defend. Right now it's at Zeds 2 to 1. We're going to get 2 column shift for the area, moving it to equal 2. And this could be our downfall right here. Okay, here's the roll, equal 2. We've rolled a 4, and that is going to be 3 losses to us, and we have to retreat. And that's going to be the end of the game. They'll take 1 loss, removing the unit. This force would have to retreat to town center, And they're going to take control of the town center basement. We have no chaos markers left to place, so we've lost the game. And so that's going to bring the game to a close. And we were doing pretty well at the beginning, but cascade of events really hit us and took us down pretty quickly. I didn't play exactly very well either. I got a little overwhelmed. We had this unexpected Super Zed show up at the Farmingdale Bridge. That didn't help. And I just had too many wounds and not enough actions to do what I needed to do. But fun game, and I'm always enjoy coming back to this board game, Dawn of the Zeds. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again in our next episode. And in the meantime, this is Keith from the Solo Gamers Club, signing off and wishing everyone a pleasant evening. Good night.